Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all our NICU experience with our baby and as parents. The NICU is the neonatal intensive care unit for babies, and our baby was there for about a week. I believe she was there from the 7th to the 14th. And if you haven't seen it yet, I have posted my birthing story. It is labeled traumatic birth story, and so just trigger warnings if you are going to watch that video. I explain everything that happened and kind of why, and so I just wanted to make a video to share our NICU experience post the hospital, post delivery, and just share with you all our experience as parents and seeing our baby there, everything we went through, etc. If you are or were a NICU parent, hello, fellow NICU parent. We are right there with you. We know how hard this can be, and just I encourage you to seek out the support that you need at the moment and to really try to take care of yourself as much as you can. And that's all I could really say, honestly. That's all I could really say because I only know our experience, and there were so many babies in the NICU and everyone has such a different experience being there. And so I'm just gonna share our experience. Okay. So let's get started. So as you all know from my birth story video, our baby lost some oxygen, and so she was put on a 72-hour cooling treatment. It's a fairly new treatment that I guess the NICUs do, and it's also called like therapeutic hypothermia. And so the baby's body is cooled down so that a lot of whatever was lost during that time that the baby lost oxygen is like fully repaired. And they've seen so many results with this therapy, and so I completely trusted that they knew what they were doing. It was just really hard to see our baby like literally like shaking from the cold, but knowing that it's been done before and that they knew what they were doing felt a little bit more reassuring. So on to our NICU experience. So once I gave birth, my husband visited our baby that same night, and then I was released the following day. Leaving that day was extremely difficult. Leaving without your baby is extremely difficult, and I cried a lot, which is normal, I'm sure. And so I delivered in one hospital, and the other hospital was not too far away, but they were the ones that had the level 5 NICU. The hospital that I delivered at just had a little bit more space. It had good parking. It had like a ball. It was just a better birthing center than the level 5 NICU hospital was, and so we chose to give birth there. Would I change that now? Probably would, but that's for another video. So arriving at the NICU on that first day, it was extremely tough. I mean, as a mom, your baby isn't with you. You are bleeding. You could barely walk. And yeah, this hospital, like we had to like walk across the street. By the second day, I just would tell my husband, drop me off in the front, you go park, and then we'll go in together, because it took me forever to walk. If you've given birth, you probably understand. So just going up to the NICU was very tough. Why am I'm already crying. Wow. I just remember walking through the hallways. It's just like the viewing, like, just seeing where you're walking, seeing the signs, seeing the like art and pictures and things that kids draw, and just knowing that there's children there, like it's so sad. And seeing that there's children in children's hospital, it's just very sad too. Going into the NICU, So first and foremost, I have to say that everyone was completely supportive. I want to say a huge thank you to nurses, staff, and doctors that do this every day. God bless you, because it is very hard to walk up in there. And I'm sure that seeing parents is very difficult for you too. So upon entering, again, everyone is very supportive. They ask you a million times your name, the child's date, ID, etc., which is super safe. You go into this little room and you have to wash your hands, you have to wear a mask, and you can't really bring in food or drinks or anything. You have to try to be very sterile with everything that you're doing. Walking into the NICU is very sad. There are so many babies there, and some even a little bit older. I think the oldest we saw was about 1 year old. And there were babies, preemie babies, mostly preemie babies, I will say. I'm sure there were babies similar to ours there. And then, you would just see parents and give the nod, oh, okay, you're here too. Some parents would be breastfeeding, others would be doing a touch therapy, things like that, just bonding. As for us, because our baby was going through the cooling process, we were not able to carry her or touch her or anything until the 4th, maybe 5th day. That was very tough. The first 2 days were very hard, and just the fear of still even losing her was there, and so that was very tough. Going in, again, you just take with you the smells and the sounds, and our baby had a little sound machine, but it played music, and so that I could still hear that music in my head. And my husband would read to her, and we would try to make it as fun and normal as we could. Nurses would come around. If the doctor was around, they would come around and give us a progress update. I personally would sit there and pump every day, being closer to her. We could touch her, which was nice, but we couldn't obviously pick her up. She had a lot of tubes and things on her head to monitor brain waves, and on her foot, on her toes, and I think they would take her blood, and she was just being fed whatever liquids, whatever fluids to basically just keep her alive. I would pump while I was there. That felt like I bonded with her, that felt like bonding to me. And I just made it a point to know that this breast milk is gonna help her, and I had even more of a drive to breastfeed then, because I wanted her to be extra healthy and have everything she needed the minute she was off of that fluid. It was imperative for me to breastfeed. And so I believe after day 3 or after day 4, they were able to give her a little syringe of breast milk, just the colostrum, which is the first milk that comes out of your breast, and it's very, very fatty, and it's really, really good for the babies. It has a lot of nutrients, I believe in it. And so just seeing her have that and being there and experiencing that was amazing, because she completely lit up, wow, where has this chocolate cake been all my life? That was her reaction. And the more she drank the breast milk, guys, the more alive she came. She started getting a little bit more red. I think after the 3rd day they took her off, and then of course then she was nice and snuggled, and I think she only had one thing on her nose, and then the monitor on her toe to monitor her blood pressure, on her foot. I think it was on her foot, and then her toe, I think it was for the heart rate. Every day just kept getting like a little bit better and better and better, and we saw the light until like going home, which at the same time, honestly, I felt bad, and I almost felt like, okay, like don't say it too loud because there's like other parents here and I don't want them to hear that like we're going home. Like I almost felt guilty, you know what I mean? But yeah, as the days went on, it got a little bit easier, and we were finally able to hold her, I think again like day 4 or day 5. And my husband would be at work, and I would just go a little bit earlier. At that point, I wasn't driving, and so I would take an Uber, and I would stay there from like 1 o'clock in the afternoon to about 5 p.m. until my husband came and picked us up, or picked me up. And then day of discharge was all over the place. Number one, she was in like a completely different room. It was so tiny in that room. I was almost like livid. I was so mad. But I understand that they have to keep people moving. And so that was the day where I had to bring in the car seat, and she had to nap in it for like 2 to 3 hours, maybe 1 hour. I don't really remember. And I had to do like the CPR training, and I had to see a lactation consultant. Again, there was just a lot of like support. Just the day of discharge was a lot of information, which I have heard that it's the same thing as if you just have a baby and leave with your baby that same day. But being a new mom, you're like, okay, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to, and you're like, this is too much, especially after my baby being in the NICU. Like, yeah. So that day was a lot, but we were very happy to bring her home. Now, I will say that I think it's very important the way that doctors communicate with parents, and doctors and nurses, and we had a really good experience, thank God. But just the reassurance of her leaving and her not having to see the neurologist anymore, and they just, you know, they did a lot of tests with us not there and with us there. I think they did x-rays, or did she go? I think she went in for an MRI. No, that must have been away from us. That must have been at another time. But everything looked great before we left the NICU, so we were very happy about that. We also saw a social worker. I can't speak. Aside from all the doctors, the nurses, they would call us, they would talk to us while we were there. And we also had a social worker who came by, who made sure like we were okay financially, that we were gonna be able to afford all of the NICU bills, that we had food to eat, that we were okay mentally. And so both the NICU, her pediatrician, and my gynecologist always made sure that we were okay because of that experience. And so I appreciate that. And at that point, I didn't feel like I needed any other resources, but at the moment I am going back to therapy for this and for other things, obviously. I mean, not obviously, but I am going to therapy for other things, just, you know, to make sure that this experience is not affecting anything else in my life, or any ways that I may, you know, treat my baby, or any fears that I may have, just anything in question. I feel like it's always good to have support and to talk about your experience and see if there's anything else in there. Yeah, so I will say that our experience at the NICU was a positive one, although scary. I did end up bringing some crumble cookies to the staff because I just felt like they deserved it. I don't know how they do what they do every day. And so I brought a huge box of crumble cookies on our daughter's first birthday. It took me way too long to do that, but I sent them a picture of like her at the NICU, her later on. I want to say I sent a couple, like her at like 3 months, at 6 months, 9, and then at the year mark, just to show them, like, you know, thank you so much for your work and continue doing what you're doing. You matter and you're special, and thank you so much. You made a difference in our lives. So yeah, if you are a NICU parent at the moment, you know, if you need support or anything, reach out to those that can help. Ask for resources. If you would like, you can also DM me if you have any questions, or if you just like need to chat or whatever. Just reach out. I'm here, have been there. And yeah, that is it for my NICU story. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and look out for more. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.